This review is all for you, you watcher of YouTube movie reviewers. It's all for you. Welcome to the Cinefanatics. My name is Robert Adams, and I'm here today with a non-spoiler review for The First Omen. Again, I'm talking about the newer movie, not the first Omen that came out back in 1976. It starred Gregory Peck. This is the new prequel that just came out. Apparently, we're on like a spree of non-horror movies lately, so we're going to talk about this one. Let's go ahead and get into this real quick. For a background, I have seen all the original Omen movies, including the remake. I just watched the original, Part 2 and Part 3 recently, but I have watched the original multiple times and the remake a couple of times, so it's an okay franchise. I don't mind it. It does some interesting things, but I was kind of curious to see exactly where this one was going to go with that storyline, with it being a prequel, and I wonder if it disappoints at all. So getting into the positive right off the bat, first of all, this movie looks fantastic. I don't know what they did. They put some kind of like a filter over this to make it look like it was like from the 70s. It has that hazy fantasy look to it, and I really enjoyed that. Plus the music that they use really kind of helps build into that fantasy dreamlike world. Kind of like the music from the original Omen, or even more specifically, I would say the music from Carrie, the original Carrie, is also of that same type of vibe. So I really appreciated what they did with that. And while this movie does rely on a lot of jump scares to really help shake up the audience, I think a few of them were actually very well done. This movie does get graphic, though. It gets super graphic in some places, and in those cases, I'm really surprised they still managed to wrangle an R rating at that point. There's one scene in particular that's just really in your face, like literally, and I'm just really shocked and surprised that they put that in there. I've never seen a scene like that in a movie before, but this one really goes for it, and I'm impressed. I appreciate what they did with that. Oof. The acting on this was fantastic, from the lead Nell Tiger Free, who I've never seen in anything else before, or to the walking closed captioning device that is the accent of Ralph Ineson, who I absolutely love. I've loved him since The Witch. I think he's a phenomenal actor. I love his voice. I love his accent, but yeah, it does need some closed captioning from time to time, which I absolutely don't mind. I actually have been enjoying watching movies that have closed captioning on, especially if you're like me and you have maybe ADHD, hard time focusing, especially when it's kind of hard to latch onto what people are saying or what exactly is going on in a scene. I do recommend throw on those closed captions, and it'll help you focus just a little bit better. I didn't know this video was going to be sponsored by closed captioning, but there you go. And finally, for the positives, I do like how they make this prequel. It does feel like it could be a standalone prequel. You could watch this and be perfectly fine if you have no interest in the rest of the Omen movies, or this does serve as a good logical step before the original 1976 Omen. So yeah, depending on how you want to watch it, I think it works very well either way. It does seem like they may be setting up like a different angle that this franchise could go in. I'm not sure how or why, but it's a little weird if you're more familiar with the entire Omen franchise as a whole, but otherwise, yeah, I think it does a really good job. As far as the negatives go, while I understand the plot of this movie and essentially what it's trying to lead to, it's trying to get to our starting point of the 1976 original, I'm a little fuzzy on how we got there, and maybe it's something, maybe there was one little sentence that kind of answers some of this, and my ADHD just didn't hear it or something, but the directions that it goes to explain exactly what's happening, I'm not sure on. And this is going to be kind of hard to dive into without getting into the spoilers. So basically the only way I can say it is it seems like that there's a lot of characters that could be used for any particular role within this movie. And I'm not sure why. I don't feel like why there needs to be so many characters that we're focusing on for this one particular direction that this movie needs to go to be able to meet up with the beginning of the original movie. and it's just like, it's a weird mystery. It's kind of a game. There is a slight twist to it, which I feel like the twist is kind of obvious from the very beginning of the movie where this could go, but I'm not sure why it had to go that way or exactly how it went that way. It was a little confusing. Again, this might be something I need to rewatch to be able to pick up on those like little subtle possible conversations that they had that I just missed out on. But yeah, that was a little confusing, but I still enjoyed how we got there for the most part. Also, there is a lore that is set up by the original movie and possibly even the Bible. I haven't read the entire Bible. I'm sorry. I'm a bad little religious boy, but I'm not completely familiar with what exactly is told in the Bible, but I do understand the lore that was set up by the original movie. And there's one particular point that they make sure to mention in the original movie that is not followed through in this prequel, and I'm kind of confused as to why. Again, this might have been a part of that point that I missed out when they were explaining exactly how we're getting to this plot. And I felt kind of like let down that it didn't answer for that one particular thing. Again, it's kind of hard to dive into this without spoilers, but if you are a fan of the original, the story of the original, you probably have a pretty good idea of the direction that this was supposed to be going. And how it's getting there, a little iffy, in my opinion. Overall, out of the two Nun movies that we have gotten lately, I am a bigger fan of Immaculate. I do like what Immaculate did. I feel like the story was a little more straightforward, a little more easier to understand. Again, that just might have been my comprehension of this movie. Yours may be different. I do see like a lot of people seem to be saying that they do prefer the first Omen over Immaculate, which is fine. I completely understand that, especially because like Immaculate, gave like a 7 out of 10. This one, I'm going to go ahead and give a 6 out of 10. So, I mean, it's not that much better, but also, I'm going to be completely honest, Nun horror movies, they're not really my thing. They're not something I'm typically into anyways. When you start building in, like, religious lore or anything religion into it, I feel like it just starts to get muddled, and it's just really weird. Not that I'm against that, it just makes everything a little bit more complicated because generally most people may not be familiar with that specific religion or how it's supposed to be portrayed, what things they can and can't do. You don't know the rules, so that one, it kind of leaves me kind of iffy some points on that. It really honestly just comes down to the fact that I had more fun with Immaculate than I did the first Omen, so take that as you will. Anyways, that's going to be my review for the first Omen. I do recommend checking it out. If you have been a fan of the Omen franchise, go see this. It's going to be probably pretty good for you. You'll probably very much enjoy it. Again, maybe you'll get a little bit more out of it than I did. Just make sure you're paying attention when they're explaining things, I guess. But otherwise, pretty decent movie. Again, prepare for a lot of like really close up graphic shots that you weren't expecting to see. It's a little weird, but I enjoyed it. I love weird things on a big screen like that, so go see this movie. Otherwise, you can follow us here at The Cinefanatics. We are at The Cinefanatics on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok. You can follow me personally at RCA Reacts on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Letterboxd, and YouTube.com/@RCA Reacts. That's going to do it for this review. Thank you for watching. We will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.